Eyes wide, I got one chance. No sleep till I'm enhanced. Fight hard to keep my stance. Knuckle up, time to buckle up. I got one shot and I won't stop. One goal for the joyride. I'm a champion. Move aside.
Oh, okay. Are you kidding me? Taking over the game. What am I watching? They might just be doing it. He's a god. He's a god.
Yeah. Full force, I'm unleashed, so don't speak. Grandmaster, don't sleep. Victory, it tastes so sweet. Knuckle up, time to buckle up. I got one shot and I won't stop. One goal for the joyride. I'm a champion. Move aside. Let's go.
Another day of the Overwatch League. I am Achilles. We're doing something a little bit different here today to kick off the new Overwatch League career here of Miss Vicky. Kitty, welcome to the broadcast. How does it feel to, finally be diving into your first day?
I'm really excited to start off with APAC for today, and also really excited to be casting with Jaws. I know that this is going to be our debut series, and overall, honestly, Achilles, I'm so excited. I mean, to be here casting Overwatch League 2021 season in my socks, what other dream could I potentially ever have in my life?
And you're doing it in your pajamas, like everybody else does. You can't see below the desk right now, so... I could be wearing jeans. I could be wearing my pajamas. You never really know. But Jaws,
you're wearing your pajamas, bro. Like, there's no way you're not wearing your pajamas. Let's be real with ourselves here.
Well, Jaws, how's it feel to be back for another year of the Overwatch League?
Feels pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Little bit of a different setup this year, of course. I mean, look at this beautiful, lovely desk that I'm going to attempt to put my hands on, but completely miss. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty excited. 3-person desk for APAC as well. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So we'll be guiding you guys through the action. I mean, starting things off, this is going to be a very exciting series for you guys to, make your little duo debut, given that we have Chengdu getting ready to go up against the NYXL. Because, Chengdu coming off of a huge 3-0 victory over the Shanghai Dragons. Real quick, though, shout out down there, the lower third. Make sure you guys go over to overwatchleague.com/team shops and get your favorite team's gear. I am hearing that the Chengdu stock is very much on the rise, so maybe you want to be repping them. Maybe they're going to be your favorite team throughout the season. But yeah, this is going to be potentially just completely, utterly chaotic first series.
1,000%. I mean, it's Chengdu, right? You don't expect anything different. But my favorite thing about Chengdu this season is that they're not here to mess around, Seth. I mean, last couple of years, you'd say, Among ball specialist, when no one really else was playing Wrecking Ball, he was there pioneering it, trying to make it a thing. But now, a little bit more so. I mean, you're seeing a lot more Wrecking Ball in these kind of dive compositions, but we've seen someone else kind of step into his shoes in Gaga. And are we ever going to see Among again? Honestly, Vicky, I don't think we will.
Yeah, I don't know. Seeing how Gaga's been doing after week 1, according to the Watson's overall power rankings, Gaga taking that #2 player spot right behind Jinmu, who's actually standing at #1. So, Gaga putting in a lot of that work that I'm anticipating is seeing for the rest of the day.
Oh, 100%.
It's been a fantastic debut.
It's pretty scary.
Absolutely. I mean, especially taking down Shanghai. I mean, granted, that that's kind of a little bit of history repeating itself, because if you take a look back to last season, they were able to put up a very similar result versus Shanghai, right around the same point in the season. So maybe it's history repeating itself, but I think that this is just an actual super legit looking Chengdu Hunters. They look overhauled in every single facet right now. So definitely a scary team that everybody else really has to respect here in the APAC region.
Yeah, I mean, look at the starters. Of course, you saw these last week, of course, take down the Dragons. And funnily enough about that series, that was history repeating itself from last year. 3-0 against the Shanghai Dragons, the first time they faced in 2020. Of course, this is a different lineup completely, like we spoke about already, Gaga. But you also have Jinmu, you have Leave, and you have Monk, who's been a nice little surprise as well on the Ana.
Yeah, honestly, when you take a look at the Hunters and how they've done compared to last week, I mean, 3-0ing the Shanghai Dragons and then giving that one map over to the LA Valiant. I want to say right here, we were joking around about it earlier, but the Hunters have chosen violence since 2019, and they're continuing on with their rampage now, going off against the Excelsior.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they can continue forward, because, on the other side, it is a team that is still some familiar faces, but very much has undergone a lot of changes themselves. It's the NYXL.
Yeah, I mean, you still have Jacked Jonak, of course, in the support role. Friday's joining him as a kind of this rookie, and then you've got players that have been around before. Of course, you know Yukpung, or at least you should know him for his time on the Toronto Defiant. You have Feather and Flora too. I'm most excited, honestly, about Flora. Brand new to the league, just turned 18 as of December. Was part of O2 Blast with people like Pelican and and he was also on WGS. These teams in Korean contenders, they're basically feeder teams coming into the league this year and last year, man. Like, Flora, in my mind, is gonna pop off.
I'll have to see if he's going to be able to get it done, because, I mean, he's got really tough opponents in Leave and Jinmu. You know, need to get Jinmu out of the sky. Need to just control Leave, because this guy is all over the place. I know that, you know, Avril was very much bigging him up, saying he's one of the, you know, the silent carries in the league and has been for quite some time. Taking a look at our map set, things are going to be kicking off on Nepal for Control. So, without further ado, I will make my departure. Vicky, Jaws, have a wonderful cast, and I will be back for the breakdown here at the end of the series. Words.
Thank you so much.
All right, see you later. Yeah, see you, mate.
All right, goodbye, like next year.
See you next year, pal.
Anyways, going into Nepal though, Jaws, things are kicking up. We're getting started, and I'm really excited to see what these two teams are gonna do, especially looking at the New York Excelsior, and you know this is their debut match for the season overall. What are you anticipating now as we do start off on Nepal? Hunters, they're coming up with some of that momentum already into the series after their performance last weekend.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're riding high right this week if you're the Hunters, and if you're the Hunters a fan as well. You beat the Shanghai Dragons 3-0, NYXL fielding a fair few rookies and players that have been in the league before but haven't found too much success, so it's feeling pretty good. Plus you're on a lot of comfort picks as well. Jinmu on the Fari, of Leave on the Somber as well. I mean, you can see they're trying to chunk them down at this point. Flora's having a little bit of a tough time, but as soon as this point unlocks, and which it has done just now, NYXL are going to have the edge in kind of sitting on this comp. It's now up to Jinmu and Leave to try and find a hack, and then Jinmu just bursting people down.
Oh yeah, Jinmu, of course, one of the best.
He's already got Barrage,
out for. Yeah, already has Barrage, being able to attack on so much of that damage, and being able to also have Nisha to help out with those pocket heals as well as that damage boost, now making their way over. The Ant Matrix alive going forward, and yeah, and especially with the wall too, trying to cut off the attempt from the Chengdu Hunters to come right back into the rocket barrage coming alive. He gets immediately shut down. I love the reaction that we had right there from Bianca. Flora now with the Deadeye, and wow, Jaws already with a strong start. New York Excelsior, they're trying to shut down the Chengdu Hunters.
Okay, Jinmu uses the Cushion Blast to get on top of the NYXL and then just unleash the Barrage. You're doing it into a Rhine Shield. You could potentially be doing it into a May Wall and a Defense Matrix. There is no way you're getting that off. 50% now, and this is really going to be their first fight. However, Friday already getting taken out, and that's a big EMP.
Yep, fighting for right here, and it's going to be a cleanup, and this is going to allow the Hunters to make their way over to the point right now, cleaning things up. Jinmu also just tacking on so much of that pressure. They're really going to have to focus down on Jinmu, who's been an absolute threat from the very beginning. Gaga's going to clean things up, and I'm going to be looking at Flora to be able to take care of Jinmu in that regards. But now that they've been able to take this point, Excelsiors, they were able to take it at least a 69%, so that's a little bit of a lead that, you know, they could ease their way over to.
Pretty nice. A lot of ults as well available, and you really do have to stop the rotations from NYXL here if you're the Chengdu Hunters. You have to stop them from getting the point, and, well, they do just that. That's Jonak, double direct body shot from Jinmu, and they're going to have to go all the way back to spawn. Otherwise, Jinmu could basically spawn camp him. Yeah, you can see the Diva flying over. Bianca wants to make sure he can protect him, even the Lucio too, to speed him up, and you can see Leave just kind of darting around. They should be able to take him out. Jonak is still fairly chunky, although can't heal himself with the right click. Still has that shift as the hack does wear off. And Jonak going low again. Oh, Jinmu doesn't quite find the kill, but that's bought a lot of time. And Leave 40% towards the EMP. I'm still looking for those mines from Gaga to try and intercept them from going to the point. There it is. But the self-destruct comes out on top of the NYXL.
Yeah, they were able to get into some cover right here, and the Blizzard coming alive. Excel right now going forward, as well as the fact that they're holding on to a lot of those ultimates. They didn't have to burn too much other than that sound barrier. That Blizzard, big anti right there. Yapon, he's down. It's so is the Rocket Barrage to follow through with that huge ante that we just saw coming in from the Hunters. Wow, what a way to retake this point. It's going to be a cleanup right here, Jaws, and Hunters, despite it going back and forth, New York, they're looking fantastic on trying to contest them, but Jinmu, what a great follow-up from Monk.
Wow, what an unbelievable nade from Monk as well. Friday used that beat really early as well, so they couldn't use that to stop all that damage coming through from the barrage. That was an unbelievable combo, and now you're looking at 65%, almost final fight, and especially if they EMP early here, Vicky, it will be just that. Feather used the Blizzard as well, although not too useful against the comp that the Chengdu Hunters are running. A big EMP comes out, though.
His shutdown floor. He gets into, he's gonna back off real quick, but Yakung's taking a quick nap on the side over here. They had a lot of those ultimates in the economy, but they actually just burned through it, and being able to find them over to the side, they do find Jinmu back into this fight at least, but New York, they're gonna make their way over, but at the same time, Hunters, they didn't lose too many other than Gaga. Will be able to roll right back onto the point, and it's ticking away. They're gonna have to contest right here. Great wall to buy in some of that time, but the shatter from Yakung could make it or break it. Only finds also off to the side, deals a lot of that damage, although also does get out in time, does have that Diva mech to reset real quick, utilizing the ultimate. He's stuck around the wall. Wow, what a wall! Actually helped out Floor right there, but Jonak unfortunately isn't as lucky right here, and the number advantage going in favor of Hunters. Elsa, Gaga, absolutely unstoppable forces, not only creating some of that space for the minefield, but they clear out all of New York.
This is chaos, and what more could you really expect from the Chengdu Hunters? They've now got the point. Elsa, unfortunately, doesn't have mech, but the mines are eventually going to fade away, meaning Friday can touch. He needs to be able to survive, though, and get this beat off, as well as Feather getting back to the point with the Blizzard to stop everybody kind of collapsing on them. Monk has got the Nano available, but Leave approaching this EMP. A lot of key ultimates being available very, very shortly. Feather eventually getting that Blizzard online and shoving out onto the point, but still in control of the Chengdu Hunters.
Deadeye now coming in, does find Yakung up to the side. Not only did they hack him, but he also gets put to sleep immediately. Jonak's out of the fight, and Friday's gonna fall down with him. That means no sustainability left for New York, and Hunters pushing this over to overtime. They're staking onto the point, and they do manage to secure that first round of the first map of the series.
Oh my god. Friday needed to stay alive at the very end to get that beat off, but it was really on the Feather to try and stop the Chengdu Hunters dive bombing them on the point using that Blizzard, but the Hunters were able to just slowly touch, just navigate their way around the Blizzard. I think this is going to be the barrage after the anti-nade. Oh boy, that nano barrage does so much damage. Yopung's shields almost instantly got deleted there. I mean, who better than Jinmu really on this Pharah? And that's an extremely hard point to cap as well. If you are that Pharah team, like I mentioned before, you are sitting there just poking and prodding away, hoping you can find someone with those damage boosted rockets. But it really was the barrage there, the nano barrage that did seal the deal. Same kind of compositions from the Hunters and NYXL. Very clear what the NYXL really want to run, even if Jinmu is high in the sky, there's no damage boost. However, there's a small change. In fact, Jonak running the Moira, I don't really like this at all. I mean, you provide a little bit of extra pressure when you are playing the Bat and killing off a Pharah. And of course, the Immortality Field does so much work, and the Amp Matrix 2 just aiding the kill on the Pharah and the Mercy combo. Gaga's going to be able to jump on with the ball, and he's not going to get punished either, mind you. The Moira does almost negative damage. At least Jonak on the Batiste can do a lot more to a ball diving in.
At least maybe having some of that momentum and mobility to try to maneuver themselves around the point too. But New York, they're looking fantastic for this initial push right here. They do manage to take the point first, but it's very similar to compared to what we had seen in that first round. Hunters, they were able to regather themselves, get right back onto the point, trying to put in some of the extra pressure, and Feather trying to build up into that EMP as well. You can see them doing some of the extra poke damage, and Flora already with the Deadeye to control some of that space.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Feather, of course, using the Sombra character as well. Sombra's a fun hero, especially when you get hacked. It's very fun. Very fun. Can't do anything. You're just AFK for a few minutes. Jonak's going to have to... he's going to have to be fairly wary. He's got one of the most powerful abilities in the game, in the Fade, of course. 6-second cooldown, just blinking out of existence and then re-blinking somewhere else. Pretty nice when you're escaping Pharahs. Speaking of Pharahs, that's a big barrage, but Bianca takes him out.
Yeah, Bianca was at the ready for Jinmu. Just managed to take out Jinmu before the damage has been done, and now with the Coalescence, they're going to be able to tack on not only some of the extra pressure, but they're also going to wipe out Gaga and prevent Hunters from making their way over to the point. They may want to go for a reset. At least they do have some of those ultimates coming alive, though, for this next initial push. You see Floor still holding on to that Deadeye, but Friday does have that sound barrier to help protect the rest of NYXL if they do find themselves in a kind of stuck situation. But my eyes right now, Jaws, are on Leaf, who's building into that EMP, and Friday wanting to get out of that vision of where the EMP would hit, so that way Friday could protect the rest of NYXL with that sound barrier.
Wow, Leave ends up going down to Yukpang of all people. I mean, Flora is still on the point as well. I don't think it matters really if Feather and Flora end up dying here out of hell. However, I say that, and Nano Fara right on top of your head gives him an old punch, knocks him completely out. And yeah, Jonak falls as well. However, like, it doesn't really matter at this point, especially if you're the NYXL. You have 85%. That's one and a bit fights if you manage to recap, of course. Leave expending the EMP here. And now this is kind of how Control works, right? It's all about the ultimates and just rotating them well. And if you do end up capping point first, more often than not, yeah, you're going to have ults online as well, because you killed off the enemy team, gaining yourself a whole bunch of ult charge. And that is a solar EMP on the ball. All right, okay, Gaga's dead, and I guess they try and push now.
They really wanted to make sure Gaga isn't going to be a problem. I mean, those minefields are there, but, you know, Gaga's going to get back onto that point rather quickly. And at the same time, I mean, NYXL, they have 90% already on board here. Now, Friday's gone, though, and that's 2 members down for the NYXL. Jinmu came in from the flank, caught them sleeping. Despite Monk falling through, the number advantage still goes in favor of Hunters, and they're trying to push so that way they can be able to hold on to this advantage. NYXL, now the Shatter coming alive, not going to find anyone instead here. The Hunters are still winning in trade and numbers, and Yakpung, he's going to be going down and meeting the rest of NYXL in that spawn before they regroup.
Oh man, the solo EMP from Feather, not quite sure about that. A manual hack, of course, would have just worked, would have sufficed. I guess it's a little bit quicker to hit the Q button, but ideally...
It's about making a statement.
I mean, definitely. Ideally, you want to catch the Pharah. Not normally possible, as she's so high up in the sky, but at least catching one other person would have been great. Leave approaching his EMP now, and if they do use it early, like I've said before, which is what you normally want to do against these kind of comps, which he just does, Flora gets hacked, there's the EMP, 6 people, and yeah, Monk, Gaga, they're going to be able to clean up the rest.
You're not allowed to have fun out here. Flora, that was the second time that Flora had gotten EMP'd in the middle of using that Deadeye. And Jinmu, you could erase to the positioning, getting ready. They're still able to try to match with the NYXL despite actually being down in the disadvantage for this second round. Overall, though, you can see Leaf building into that next EMP, although still also trying to attack on some of that extra pressure on the backlines, distract NYXL, but they're going to be able to move right in, push it over into overtime. The Coalescence finding Monk, that's going to be a big deal here. The Valkyrie's not online, and Gaga now with those minefields to create some of that space on the point. They're going to have to respect that Diva Bomb coming in live from Elsa, and goodbye Jonak with that follow from Gaga. I love the way that Hunters are playing so close together, being able to utilize not only some of that synergy that they're building into, but also a lot of those good comms going in. Now another EMP coming alive, but it's just a matter of holding it onto overtime right now, Jaws. And Hunters, they still have that number advantage, and Jinmu is managing to keep everybody out. Chengdu Hunters, they take the first map.
God, NYXL there at the end had to look 17 different ways to try and deal with what the Chengdu Hunters were throwing at him. The very, very key moment there at the very end was actually the hack onto Jonak. He couldn't end up fading away from the rest of the team that were diving him, and he ended up just dying to the Wrecking Ball. Not really want to be where you want to be as a Moira player, right on top of the Wrecking Ball with no fade. Him going down there is crucial, because you don't have the main healer then in the Lucio, and then Jinmu can just do whatever he pleases as well. He has less fear of a Coalescence hitting him when he's in that barrage. That was an extremely, extremely close map. It could have gone either way. If Jonak didn't get hacked there, it could have flipped around. But the Chengdu Hunters coming out again and making a statement. They want to play their own game, and they're going to make sure the NYXL are going to follow by their rules.
Talk about playing their own game. I mean, where's the script here, Jaws? I mean, I'm gonna hit up Zoe and Mr. X and figure out what's going on here, because Chengdu Hunters, they're on a roll. That momentum is there, and I'm really excited to see how the rest of the series goes, especially with how back and forth each of those rounds seem to be, despite it being a 2-0.
Yeah, we're going to jump to a quick break, guys. Do not go anywhere. We got map number 2 coming up soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
And we're back with Chengdu Hunters taking map number 1 so far in the series. It's first to 3 here, Jaws, and so far the Hunters are looking fantastic, carrying on a lot of that momentum that we were talking about earlier from last weekend into this weekend to start things off for the APAC region.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good. Like I said just before the break there, they make you play by their rules. Jinmu's going to play the Pharah. You know Lever's going to play that Sombra. And they're just so good at executing it as well. I mean, you're looking at Village and you're saying, well, I mean, Rush, pretty good on that map. You can hide Lamp around the small corners, especially when you've capped the point. You have May to block off one of the entrances. But it's all these small plays that just make it all worthwhile. I mean, we saw Monk lobbing a massive 4-man ante on the front line of the NYXL, followed up with a nano barrage. There was nothing left of Yukpung's shield, and there's not really much you can do after that. Jinmu is ruling the skies, and he's ruling the ground. He's just ruling the whole game right now. And you can see why people are excited about this Chengdu Hunters squad. I mean, Gaga as well on the Wrecking Ball. His dive is like a synchronized dive with Leave just picking people off that have been hacked in the backline is perfect. I mentioned before that one of the critical things at the very end of that map was actually Jonak getting hacked as he was on the Moira. Can't fade away, he dies, and then you've only got Lucio heals to try and stem the bleeding from the Pharah damage, Leave jumping on you, Gaga jumping on you, you know. They just know how to play this composition to a T. And this is why Chengdu Hunters, honestly, they're not even a dark horse. They're just going to be one of the best teams in the region by far. The expectations, I think, were, I wouldn't say super high. I think looking at who they picked up, you might say that. But if you looked at over the past couple of years, especially before all these new roster additions came in, it was like, okay, they're going to play their wacky style again, and it's going to be really fun to watch. And you can tell how much fan attention they've gotten over the last couple of years. And this year, they want to make it theirs.
Yeah, I mean, I take a look at this version of Chengdu Hunters, and overall, you know, they're playing pretty conventionally with a pretty balanced roster, and they're trying to work into what works best for them. And so far, between enabling Jinmu, I'm really excited to see how they're actually going to be able to split a lot of that attention. But going on to our next map here, Josh, what are you anticipating to see a change up from the NYXL? What do you want them to do differently? Because, you know, we saw Jonak on the Moira, that didn't work out very well. You were a sitting duck, while Leaf, he was having a ball, just making sure that you can't go anywhere. But now Chengdu Hunters, they've taken that first map, and it's up to the NYXL to make some of those adjustments so that way they don't fall victim to what happened in that first map.
Yeah, I don't like the Moira in those compositions at all. The map just offers so much more, but now it looks like Jonak's actually swapping onto the Ana instead. And we got Friday on the, so it's kind of a classic, almost, I was going to say double bubble, but of course we don't have the Zarya. We've just got kind of dive tanks and, well, Ivy's head on a stick as Leaf just takes his head off. All right, well, at least Friday's there with the res. Very nice. He's going to be able to pocket Ivy in the sky. When Echo got released, I was like, wow, man, this is just better Pharah. And this is what I wanted to see from the NYXL. Them actually just coming out the gate and trying to match Jinmu in the skies with something in their own. Monk takes out Yukpung as he does dive onto the high ground, but Jinmu, especially playing around this clock tower, Vicky, it's going to be very hard for Ivy to even get a lick of damage in.
Yeah, I mean, I like the attempt from Yakpung, but he immediately got melted, got taken out from his attempt of just diving onto Hunters, although they do go in for a different position here. And my eyes right now are on Ivy, getting a lot of that sustainability from Friday at the same time. Meanwhile, having to match that with Jinmu and Nisha, you can see already with the way that they're trying to position themselves and the way that Jinmu and Nisha have been able to tack on a lot of that pressure, they need to be contested here, or else they're going to keep running away with a lot of that pressure that they were able to put onto the NYXL in that first map.
And the problem with this comp as well, I will say, Vicky, is that Leaf can basically just sit at the back here and play like Kovacs, right? Like, what are you going to do with the Widowmaker? He has to jump at you and try and kill you. The Orisa is going to go golden as the Nano comes out.
And you can see Yakpung now trying to make sure he can clear some space for the rest of NYXL to make their way in. As they do find Elsa, you still have to keep your eyes over to Nisha, who does get that res. That does burn out the res, but at the same time, that means that Shield is back in the fray, and that is going to allow the rest of Hunters to be able to clean things up. Now Jonak has fallen, and so is Ivy. That's going to be both supports out for the NYXL with no sustainability left, though, and Jinmu holding on to the Rocket Barrage. I'm a little worried here for NYXL's next attempt to try to push on through this choke point, because right now, Jaws, it's looking grim. You can take a look at the ult economy from the Hunters, and I am just absolutely terrified.
Dude, this is what I'm saying. Leaf just sits here. He knows he doesn't have to move at all because Jinmu, Gaga, and even Monk are playing distraction. They need to be able to get onto Leaf to make him make sure he can't just pressure out Ivy by just literally existing. Existing on a Widowmaker is sometimes the best thing you can do because it stops Ivy playing aggressive angles. You can see here they're trying to go for a flank, trying to take out Jinmu in the skies.
Oh yeah, George managing to prioritize Jinmu, but he's unstoppable. He does manage to not only demech Bianca, but clean up Bianca too. Leaf is gonna follow up, and Jinmu is unstoppable, looking exactly as strong as he was within last weekend. It's a team wipe. At least NYXL, they're coming in with some ultimates of their own after Hunters. They just burned through their entire arsenal, but they're still managing to buy in so much of NYXL's time with less than a minute left on board.
Yeah, I don't know about using 5 ultimates in that fight at all, to be honest with you. You probably could have saved the Supercharger, or at least maybe the Nano. Of course, the Nano Barrage. It's basically the only thing affected. Well, Friday's dead. That's not good. That's another like 20 seconds before they can set up. Self-destruct's going over the top, though.
Wow, and he finds Bianca before he gets back into the mech. Jinmu, somebody stop him. He's quite literally unstoppable. I mean, Ivy was trying their best to make sure that Jinmu would at least feel threatened in the air, but this isn't an aerial battle right now at this point. This is a one-man squad with Jinmu enabling the rest of Hunters to just keep holding on to this defense, and they're doing so successfully right now. Just less than 15 seconds on board for the NYXL to take that first point.
Oh no, Flora! Someone say Flora right now. Oh, he's dancing around the health pack. He's trying to get away, but I don't think he can. He has nowhere to go. The sleep's going to land, and now he is dead. Flora and Jonak are already down. Friday manages to resurrect on Jonak, but Leaf is still clicking heads.
Oh, right now, Hunters, it's going to be a cleanup. I mean, right now, NYXL, they're trying to delay the inevitable. At least their spawn is right there, and they are going to be able to try to talk on some of this extra pressure. Leave is displaced, and he's getting focused down by Yakpung, and Jonak is in the back. He is able to enable the rest of NYXL, but they've lost both of their supports. Jonak falls through, so does Friday, and that leaves no sustainability for the rest of the NYXL, whereas the rest of Hunters, they're still able to try and attack on so much of that pressure. Gaga falls through. He took a lot of damage, but when you have Elsa right there in the front lines with that shield, it's so difficult to try to find that perfect positioning to contest a player like Jinmu, and Leave now had him swapped over to the Doom so that way he could get back as quick as possible, but Jaws, they fully held back the NYXL.
Dude, we left that second to last fight saying, wait, they used 5 ults? Not good. NYXL now have 4 to 5 on the board, should be pretty good, and you're thinking in your head, like, if you're playing the game, right? You're like 5 ults versus basically none. Well, we win, right? That makes sense. That's maths, but not at all. I mean, Flora got caught on the sides. I think he I don't know where he put his translocator first. He like hacked the health pack, put it down, and I think that was the telltale sign for Gaga and Jinmu and just, I believe, Monk as well to kind of go in and pressure him out. And then he was caught in no man's land. He was caught on the other side of the map, like in enemy territory, where he couldn't escape. He ended up getting taken out, and then Jinmu again can kind of fly a little bit more free because he's not really scared of that EMP, even the potential of the EMP coming out, knocking him out of the sky, or even just a manual hack as well to try and ground him. That was such a painful experience for Flora, and him going down at the very end there too, 5v6, and then Jinmu's free, and like I said before, Leave is even more free than he's ever been. And not to mention, Leave dancing around Yukpung for like a good 20 seconds. He just wasn't going down, and Yukpung's attention was not on the front line. He was trying to kill the Widow, and he couldn't even do that.
Yeah, the being able to spread NYXL so thin just because of that pressure. It's all about getting into your opponent's head, and that's exactly what we had seen just based off of the positioning from the Hunters. You can already see as they do get set up in position. It's going to be tough here, especially with the NYXL now having to fully hold. They have to fully hold the Hunters, or, you know, it's going to be a grim situation. You find yourself going over to that third map with not even being able to find some sort of momentum in the second map before going right over here. Leave already getting is set up into that position, trying to find a quick pick. And at the same time right here, here comes Jinmu, the terror that has been coming forward from the skies with this barrages of rockets overall now and getting pocketed by Nisha. It's so difficult overall, Jaws, to be able to deal with Jinmu. I mean, they have Flora now on the Ashe, and to split some of that attention on the ground is Ivy to actually put on some pressure on the backlines, but they're already pushing over this payload. They get a contest here. They can't let them move it over for free. Unfortunately, this is a buy one, get two for free right now, and Yakpong is down through, and they're wasting some time forward, and with Hunters slowly making their way and easing in, Jaws. And NYXL now are down 2 members. Now finding Gaga, but is it going to be enough? I mean, the Hunter spawn is right there.
It is right there. Elsa's been naded too, so they can chase him down. Problem is with Flora right now, okay, at least they catch Monk. That should hopefully make them back off. Jinmu ends up going down as Nisha was resurrecting Monk, so again, they're going to have to play a little bit more safe. That Bob's going to help stem the bleeding just a little bit, but Flora's not being pocketed. He gets taken out by Gaga.
And that was the biggest threat too for Jinmu, and you know, being able to pinpoint Flora. Gaga is now back sent to the spawn, and I love the way that NYXL just played this right here, actually playing around the Bob, who managed to close out Gaga's life, and now Jinmu getting right back into the fray, slowly building up on that rocket barrage. That is actually what I'm scared for, because you already see Monk building into that nano boost, and it really trickles down. Yeah, it really trickles down to how they're going to be able to try to close this out, because the payload is right there, and the rest of Hunters, they're making their way over to the front lines.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way you don't nano barrage right now. I mean, he's trying to poke out Jonak just enough. That's a big fire nade in the front line too. Yukpun and Bianca are going to have to play a little bit more safe. I'll be very, very scared at the moment as well, as Leave has popped those sights. Mines come out on the point. A sleeping Ivy goes down on Flora, and I think this might just be it.
Oh, Jinmu now pulls up the rocket barrage. I don't think there's going to be anybody else left on the point to contest, especially now closing things up, and Jinmu following in. Hunters now with a speed run. I mean, Jaws, when we were going to do our debut series, I was not expecting it to be a speed run right now. Hunters putting on such a dominating performance already over the NYXL.
That's unbelievable speedrun time, man. Like, that is crazy. You're managing to hold them, like, not even near the first point, really. It's just under the little bridge, and then some, like a meter, a couple of meters, you know? Like, that is ridiculous. And this is not only off the back of who we were hyping up before, right, in Leave, Jinmu, Gaga. Monk is just being such a standout honor player too, just staying alive for as long as possible. He landed a really sick sleep on Yukpung as well, as he finally dealt with Leave on their defense, and was then jumping straight back into the rest of the team. He slept him. He was out of action for, again, another 15 seconds or so. These brand new additions to the Hunters just really rounding out the entire roster. They're looking good, man. I had a lot of faith in NYXL. Maybe give them a couple of weeks, you know, brand new to the league, some of the players. But right now, the Hunters looking like a 3-0. I can't really think of a way NYXL come back now.
Yeah, I want to see some of those adjustments, because I don't want it to be a 3-0. At the same time,
course
Hunters are looking so strong. But at the same time, I was looking at the NYXL and I had no idea what to expect. Now, though, the Hunters are up 2-0. Let's see what the NYXL could do to at least try to reverse this, put themselves back on board, or are the Hunters going to find themselves with a 3-0 and a quick handshake, make it over to the next opponent, you know, going forward tomorrow? We'll find out, though, what the NYXL does after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Justice reigns from above. Walían apagando las luces.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back. Chengdu Hunters now up 2-0 against the NYXL. Jaws, I know you were talking about some of your predictions, but I mean, the way that the Hunters are playing right now, I just quite don't know what to expect from the NYXL at this point.
Yeah, it seems hard to kind of come back from this when you've been first held on Dorado, and yeah, not much you can do even if you have 5 ults and the Chengdu Hunters have 0. They seem to outplay you every single time. I mean, a lot of that stems from just Jinmu getting extremely early picks on the Pharah as he's damage boosted. I like the small adaptations they tried to make. They put an Ashe on the field. This is NYXL I'm talking about. They put an Ashe on the field, but you can't really get the damage done. I mean, at the end of the day, you've still got so much roof work that you can walk around or fly around if you're Jinmu to kind of regain the health you're getting chunked out from. You need that damage boost. You absolutely need that damage boost on the Ashe to do any meaningful damage from the Pharah, because she's also playing like extraordinarily far away, but then it kind of disrupts the comp and you want to play other supports. It's a very, very, very tough situation if you're the NYXL, if you've just got an just godlike Pharah player in Jinmu. We are going on to Temple of Anubis, I believe, as well. And Vicky, I'm going to be real, like, they're not going to change anything, man. Like, there's absolutely no way. The NYXL, and like you said, my Preds, I predicted a 3-1. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Probably not, though.
I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it, you know?
Exactly.
Looking at the way that the Hunters are playing right now, again, like, this synergy that is being built up and the follow-ups that I'm seeing currently are insane. You know, when I saw Jonah going on the Ana, I was actually anticipating a sleep dart, at least being able to shut down Jinmu going in from the flank. We didn't really get to see an opportunity for that to present itself. So now going on to map number 3, I'm not too sure if the NYXL has had enough time, especially after how quickly that second map went, to adjust around the momentum that already has been built up by the Hunters.
Yeah, they can adjust fairly well on Anubis, however. I will say that is the caveat, and it's just the map itself. And if you think of Anubis, it's basically one straight line to the point. Of course, it does zigzag, yes. But if you think of it as a Pharah, it's basically one straight line to the point. There are very, very few hiding spots you can go as a Pharah to try and dodge out the way if you're on offense. if you're on the defense, you can easily run a Widowmaker. You can run a McCree, you can run an Ashe, of course. So it would make a whole lot of sense just to run that to make sure Jinmu can't use the Pharah. Of course, though, we are seeing a small swap up here from the Hunters. We are seeing Jimmy come in instead of Jinmu, so we're not going to be seeing the Pharah there at all. They've got every trick up their sleeve ready to go. They're like a well-oiled machine that looks like a panda, and there's no changes from the NYXL. I can't imagine we're going to see anybody rotated in. I'm excited to see how Flora and Ivy are going to play this, because now they're not experiencing the threat, the ominous orb presence that is Jinmu in the sky, that is basically immortal with Monk and Nisha in his back. Anubis is a tricky one though, of course, attacking second point. But, Vicky, come on. Let's be real. The Hunters, they're looking strong. The NYXL, maybe they need a couple more weeks to kind of get in the groove of things, but you're looking at one of the best teams in APAC right here.
Yeah, you know, and which is very natural too, especially trying to feel out what a lot of these teams are mostly strong with. And as we do enter Anubis, I got my eyes over at the Hunters. I mean, if you had any trouble getting out of bed so early in the morning, well, knock, knock on your doors. The Hunters have presented you with your morning coffee. And I mean, right now, the way that they've started things up, I'm definitely awake right now, Jaws. And as we do start things up, hopefully, you know, you made a mention of it. You were anticipating perhaps a 3-1, you know, at the very least. And right now, the Hunters, they're trying to just speedrun their way over to just closing this out, kind of sit back, relax after what they were able to do to the Shanghai Dragons last weekend. They're trying to make sure they keep that up as a habit after, unfortunately, losing that record that they could potentially have caught with the LA Valiant, you know, actually winning that 3-1. They still off the map, and here we have NYXL, though. Could they potentially be the next victims of the Chengdu Hunters 3-0 curse? I mean, let's find out, because right now, you see the NYXL, they're getting set up on the defense, Jaws, and the Hunters, again, they're building into some of that momentum, but they do have some of those swap-ups that could catch the NYXL off guard.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the Chengdu zone right here. I mean, Jimmy coming in too, probably running the Sombra, and this is what the Chengdu Hunters kind of made their name as well, this kind of chaos comps with the Wrecking Ball, and this double bubble style of composition as well kind of aids that, because it is a little bit of chaos some of the time, you know? You're spectating this, there's like 3 different fights happening at once. Jimmy's trying to hack somebody, and then the rest of the team are trying to jump on them, right? I mean, that's the ideal situation. How does he get that hack? I don't know, but Yukpeng is dead already. So, nice start for the Hunters. And now NYXL have to run for the hills.
The follow-up, the pristine follow, I mean, Yukpeng, he thought he had the position. He was able to try to go around the corner, try to save himself, and now you have the rest of the NYXL. They're falling through. Despite Flora finding those picks, I mean, they're going to be able to press their advantage. This first point, it's going to be going over to the Hunters right now, Jaws. Excelsior, they're going to have to reset, go back to that second point, and figure something out. Go back to the drawing board, because right now, the Hunters, they quite literally want a record over the NYXL.
Oh, they do. 6 minutes on the time bank attack in second. That feels pretty good. Second point Anubis, though, and it being 2CP as well. A little bit difficult to finish of all maps. The spawn point is very, very close. Jimmy trying to get the hack, and he does, actually, on Friday, and Friday's already dead.
Oh, that's going to be huge right here. That just leaves Jonak for the sustainability. Are the rest of the Hunters going to go in? No, it's Big Anti actually hitting the back line of the Hunters, and that's actually going to be the reason why Nisha's falling through. Monk survives very briefly. I mean, we'll have the Anubis coming in, just wants to go for a reset, because right now, NYXL, they do manage to stave the rest of Hunters off. For the meantime, right now, at least they do have that 5-minute time bank, so it's going to be a little grim if they don't manage to build it to some of those ultimates right now. Yeah.
Ideally, you just want to wait for this EMP, you go in, you copy the monkey, have double monkey, double primal rage, and double the fun. Elsa's going to be able to charge to grab at that point as well. And the problem for the NYXL currently, don't have rally. They've got nano, sure, they can save one target, but that rally is going to be the key thing to actually stop this massive engage. No ways Friday is building up to 1 right now. I mean, it's not that quick for building ultimate. Dynamite's going to go in as they make their engage.
Especially hacking that health pack on the bottom right there too is going to control some of that space. Duplicate coming alive. Monk gets anti though, and he takes on a lot of that damage. He falls through, before actually utilizing the nano boost. Now Yakpeng, though, is going to be able to extend some of that aggression, and the rest of NYXL, they're burning through some of these ultimates right here. Nearly all of them right now, Jaws, and they are going to be able to clean the point around Hunters, but I like the way that Hunters actually waited, especially since they only utilize a duplicate. They're going to be able to go right back in with 5 ultimates of their own.
Yeah, I talked about how difficult Anubis is to finish, and Jack to Jonak. Jonak lands another clutch anti-nade, only hitting one target, but the best target you can hit in Monk. It was a very easy follow-up there from the Winston, and the rest is history. You saw Nisha actually just jumping onto the point. That's a big EMP, though. I'm going to cut myself off.
Yeah, Vining 4, and that's going to be the cause of death for Floor right here, and that's going to be an aggressive push coming in from the Hunters. Now utilizing those ultimates that we made note of. Jimmy falls through, though. Ivy has been a big threat, and the grab coming alive. Now being able to try to close things up, though. I like the positioning that we're seeing from Ivy, who has, once again, been a pretty big threat, but Yakpon is falling through, and Bianca's taking a lot of that damage, does have that Diva Bomb to reset real quick, control some of that space, but the rest of the Hunters, they're on phase right now, Jaws, and you can already see the way that they're playing so close together. They want to make sure that Friday isn't a threat with this rally. They're cleaning up the point, but nobody left for the NYXL to do anything. The ball swap coming in from Yakpon, but he immediately gets deleted, and the way that Leaf now utilizes the duplicate right here, I mean, Jaws, the Hunters, they're feeling themselves, but can they clear up the point in time before the rest of NYXL manage to regroup and find those picks? They've already lost Gaga right now, but the number advantage still goes in favor to the Hunters. Despite just losing Gaga, Elsa taking a lot of that damage, does have that grab, and now the duplicate to go in. Right here, you see Ivy taking a lot of that damage, but with that grab that he was able to build up twice, that point goes in favor of Hunters with that 2-minute and 48-second time bank.
Oh man, it just took them over 3 minutes to cap that second point. I'm telling you, man, Anubis, pretty hard to finish. But that was a ridiculous copy from Leave. He copies straight into the Ana, hits a 2-man anti at 2 people coming out of the right-hand side spawn, and yeah, Echo, when you're duplicated, you build ult charge pretty quickly. He hits one person with a little dart, and then bada bing, bada boom, you got Nano, just puts it on the Zarya, and then Elsa just chews through everybody. And like you said, he got 2 grabs in that fight because he was getting nanoed and was at 100 energy. There's no way you're not going to get 100 energy if people are diving onto the point constantly, trying to just get as much damage as possible to try and find that one pick. And normally in Overwatch League as well, something that McGravy actually was talking about earlier on today was the fact that it's actually fairly difficult to gain Graviton's, no, the Zarya charge, sorry. I was going to say grab charge, but it kind of makes sense. It's pretty hard to gain Zarya charge a lot of the time in Overwatch League just because everybody is just so disciplined into not shooting those bubbles. But because Elsa is defending the point to try and cap it, then it's incredibly easy. And then he's nanoed and he gets a 2-man grab on the Tracer and the ball. Like it all goes just upwards from there for the NYXL. And you waiting for that rally at the very end. I said before, Friday needed that rally, but he just wasn't able to get it online at all because people just trickling on and on and on, and it was just a painful situation. And now we're seeing Jimmy on the Widow as well, and look at how much protection he's getting from Elsa too, just shooting that shield up there.
I would love to have heard what the NYXL comp sounded like, just managing to see Elsa tack on not only so much of that damage, controlling so much space, but building into both of those grabs. Now, Flora is gone, and great start already for the Hunters to push back the NYXL. They're trying to find a way to go over to the side, but they're sandwiched right here. With Leaf having a lot of that pocket support from Nisha, it's going to be really difficult to deal with that. But, you know, overall, Ivy did a really good job at suppressing the Hunters within that first round when they were on the defense. Can they keep that up, though? Because at the same time, you know, you can't do everything by yourself here. And the way that Hunters are playing, they're forcibly spreading the NYXL thin. They're forcibly making them focus down a lot of the back line, whereas you have the front line being immediately pressured by Leave and Gaga, who has just been absolutely running amok. Jimmy finds Yakpeng. He tried to literally just jump in once, and Jimmy's unstoppable, finding 2 heads. What are we playing right now, John? It's just a matter of sending the NYXL back to the spawn. It's going to be a cleanup. It's looking like hungry hippos here, except for the Hunters are the hippos, and the NYXL are unfortunately finding themselves back on the board at the same time right here, John. The Hunters, they're holding on to this momentum and a lot of those ult charges that they're building into.
Oh, that was ridiculous set of plays there. Jimmy just clicked 2 heads and then Leave transforms into the Diva, just runs the rest of NYXL down. Super unfortunate. But Flora's going to be the key target here you want to look for. This pulse bomb is going to have to be massive. Lands on Monk, lands on Nisha, which is almost going to be impossible with Leave up in the skies, but they know exactly where he is now with those sights being activated.
Oh, look at Jimmy. He's waiting for the opportunity right here. Ivy, he's out in the open. Doesn't find a hit, though. At the same time, the boost coming alive. Pung, he's forced to get out of that situation. Doesn't have primal reset. Bianca's demexed and put to sleep. Perhaps going in for stagger. And at the same time, the Hunters, they managed to successfully keep the NYXL back at bay. And at the same time, you have them trying to rotate onto the high ground so that way they can at least get some position advantage over the Hunters. But Jaws, you have Jimmy still finding these heads. The rest comes in, forces it out on Ivy, at least has the duplicate to work with. But they notice Jimmy has been somebody to keep your eyes out for. If it wasn't Jinmu, it's Jimmy this time around.
Yeah, look at his corner. Young Monk, unfortunately, trapped in the corner, gets anti-naded. At least they trade Monk, though. Now it's actually a fantastic trade, just taking down one of the healers. But Gaga comes in once more to clean house. And one small play there that I want to mention from Gaga is he just absolutely domes the NYXL. His
like
mind, he used it super defensively. Like, he waited for the NYXL to jump in, use the mine so no one could follow up with that nano boost onto Yukpung, and they just couldn't do anything. There's now a minute remaining for the NYXL to gain a little bit of point presence. They've got no percentage, no ticks on the board, and now they are running into mines again, Nano again, Valkyrie, and the Supercharger. And they've only really got a self-destruct. Flora gonna have to build up this pulse bomb and stick Monk, otherwise it could be all over.
Now we're talking about the Hunters not being as much of a threat without those ultimates. Now we're dealing with the Hunters with a plethora of ultimates to work with. They are going to try to be patient, waiting for that jump to finish, not going all in. Jonak getting that nano boost coming alive. Yakung does have that primal to reset. Flora needs to get a big pulse bomb, at least on the backline, to continuously pressure on the Hunters. They do find Jimmy, which is going to be a big deal, especially with the amount of pressure that we've been seeing coming in from Jimmy on that high ground. Although it's not enough, Jonak is gone. And Friday, that just leaves Friday for the sustainability before falling through the spawn. You currently have Leave having that duplicate to go in for a quick reset and cleaning up around the NYXL. They didn't even have a chance of even taking a single tick here, Jaws. And the NYXL, they're finding themselves meeting back into that spawn room before trickling in and delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, they're finished now. This is all but over. Nice little kill from Bianca there, but there's not really much point in you fighting any longer. Jimmy does end up going down. In fact, Flora does get Nisha also, but OT is ticking down immensely quickly. Can they actually turn this around? Maybe so.
Oh, they're still trying to trickle back in. I mean, going to sleep and getting cleaned up. Yeah, no, Yakung immediately just got deleted right there. I love the follow-up too. I mean, at the same time, Chengdu Hunters, they do take the first series that we're going to be casting today in the APAC region over the NYXL.
That was ridiculous. And what happened? He needed to hit the stick, he did, but Monk killed him before the stick even exploded. So that was something. The Chengdu Hunters just shutting out the NYXL in that series, a clean 3-0. Nothing seemingly stopping them right now. A lot of flexibility in their roster too. It's nice to see Jimmy come in after Jinmu's dominant performance, and well, it was the same dominant performance there as well. You saw Leave on the Widowmaker just shutting down at dive after dive after dive. That Winston just didn't really have anywhere to move. He wants to, of course, pressure it, but then Nisha is right at his back. He's in like 17 places at once. It's kind of ridiculous. He's permanently healing the Widowmaker, but then also healing the Echo in the sky, then healing the tanks, then healing the other support. This guy is just a sentient being, just a sentient radiating orb of healing that is not getting touched whatsoever. Leave has just been fantastic on the Widow, and yeah, I had higher expectations for the NYXL. Maybe they need that couple of weeks, but the Hunters, they are here to stay in the APAC region here, Vicky.
Yeah, I mean, when I took a look at the NYXL, I had no idea what to expect, especially with that rework roster that we were able to see just now. And overall, you know, you could say that they're still testing out the waters, still trying to find what their strongest feet are. But now looking at Chengdu Hunters, it seems over here that they wasted no time, especially coming out of last weekend. They're carrying that momentum straight into the second weekend of the May Melee Qualifiers. And now they're sitting happy, feeling pretty confident after taking that series over the NYXL.
Yeah, Our player of the match, of course, on your screens right now, none other than Leave. His Sombra play was beautiful, and his play in general is pretty squeaky clean. There's nothing this man cannot do, it seems. Just these manual hacks as well have just been incredible.
Yeah.
Of course, I mentioned the one back on Nepal where he hacked Jonak, just resulting in them winning that stage here at the Shrine stage, of course, right here. His EMPs have just been spectacular. And then Widowmaker, yeah, he's pretty good at clicking house as well. His Dorado was just his map. He sat right at the back and just clicked on heads repeatedly until the NYXL kind of gave up, you know, in OT. There's not really much this guy can't do. I think we're going to be seeing a whole lot more of MVP Leave, that is for sure. Look at that, enemies EMP'd 17 on the summer and 36 hacks as well. A hack sometimes is good enough for a kill, and more often than not right now, if Leave is hacking somebody, yeah, the Chengdu Hunters, they're killing them and making sure NYXL go all the way back to spawn.
Especially being able to rotate through that DPS lineup of Jinmu and Jimmy, now being able to also focus down the fact that they're forcing their opponents to readapt around the different change of composition that they're bringing into it. But, you know, the way that Jimmy was able to perform on Anubis, I mean, that's how you're able to see right there just the amount of pressure that he was able to tack on from that high ground, displacing a lot of the NYXL very similarly to what we had seen on, you know, just overall the way that Hunters were playing, spreading the NYXL thin and forcing out them to reposition and also tack on a lot of that backline pressure that unfortunately they were not able to close out.
Yeah, his copies were really good too. I just want to see him montage those copies on Anubis because he was just copying into D.Va over and over again, just running down the rest of the team. And his precision on Echo too is just absolutely outstanding. Tri-shot is it's a bit of an odd ability, especially when you're using it from range, of course, because it does eventually kind of spread out. And the sticky bombs as well are very... If you played Echo, you kind of understand, but they're very hard to hit, at least for me they are. And you have to kind of lead your shots on a lot of them, like you do with Zenyatta Orbs. This guy is just an absolute menace in the sky, and his hero pool is just perfect for the kind of comps and chaos comps what the Chengdu Hunters want to run. NYXL, unfortunately, going down 3-0. I hope they can end up bouncing back. I had high hopes for Flora, like I said, at the very, very start of the series, and I'm sure they will under Jonak's guidance, but it's all the Chengdu zone, man. There's nothing getting out of this state right now.
Yeah, now looking over to our next series coming up very soon. Philadelphia Fusion versus the Hangzhou Spark. Don't go anywhere because that's going to be coming on at the other side of this short break. Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
down what just happened. I mean, but let's start with that question. What just happened? Chengdu Hunters coming in strong yet again, absolutely dismantling the NYXL, who I think you put it, the best way you possibly could, Jaws. It looks like they need maybe a few more weeks to get into position here to start taking some series in the region. But man, Hunters at every single twist and turn coming out on top.
What more can you ask for from the Chengdu zone? I mean, we have Jimmy clicking heads, Leave clicking heads, and Jimmu just destroying people from the sky. I'm not sure what else you could really do. I mean, NYXL, they're just kind of outmatched on almost every single role currently. I mean, yeah, Chengdu Hunters definitely one of the favorites in the region so far. A couple of weeks maybe needed, but maybe face Valiant a couple of times, and then you can see where you can go from there. But Vicky, what do you think? I mean, the Hunters, are we ever going to exit the Chengdu zone?
The Valiant are the only ones that have been able to take a map off of the Hunters.
Which is crazy, right?
Well, I don't understand what's going on. That's why I was asking for the script, because obviously there's something that I just didn't read over here, because this is just completely going off the script at this point. And looking over at how the Hunters did in that series, I'm just more than excited to see what they have to bring on going forward within the rest of the APAC region.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm looking forward to our new segment here that we're going to be jumping into. It's our Pringles bold predictions to see what your guys' boldest possible predictions are so far for the season. Obviously, it's very early days, so make them as spicy as you want. We'll start with you, Vicky.
Ooh, Chengdu Hunters, they're going to be number one. Bold take, let's go.
I don't know. What is the boldest prediction that I could do for the Chengdu Hunters? Let's see. Leave and Gaga dual MVP of 2021. They couldn't decide which one, so they're giving it to them both. There you go. There's my Pringles bold prediction.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm going to try to remain a little bit impartial here and not throw my hat in the ring just because, I'm being the okay, fine. They're going to crush everybody. The shock, the justice, it doesn't matter. It's all about the Chengdu Hunters now. They are going to dominate. The Pandas are here, and they are looking absolutely terrifying at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, who is going to be the team that can finally stop them is really the big question. But it seems like it's going to take a lot longer for teams to be able to compete with them. Maybe, the Dragons on a second pass, maybe they'll be able to do it. But it's such a strong start. Things are just absolutely wild, as they often are here in the APAC region. I have somebody at my door. So, Vicky, if you want to close out this segment and throw us to a break in a little bit, I'll be right back.
There you go. You guys heard it right here first from Seth. Don't go anywhere, guys, because at the end of this break, we're going to be going straight into the game. We'll see you guys soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles. Stay in the game.
Welcome back. See, told you it wasn't that long. Short break overall, and while Seth does enjoy some of his time eating his pizza, Jaws, you and I, we're going to be taking over and going on to our next series of the day. It's going to be the Hangzhou Spark versus the Philadelphia Fusion.
Yeah, let's hope one of them doesn't walk as quickly away as Seth did when he had to go get his food. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Hopefully it's not another 3-0. Of course, we saw Philly a couple of times last week, and they're actually undefeated currently. Only week 1, let's be real. It doesn't mean too much just yet, but it's a nice little taster test, what we got in the APAC region so far. The Spark, on the other hand, not played just yet. And I'm extremely excited to see the Spark, because their roster seems very well suited for this current meta. There's a lot of flexibility in people like Architect. Guangzhou as well is like perfect for double bubble. And in the APAC region, and in like Korean Overwatch in general, like a lot of the compositions that the teams come up with, and just over the history of Overwatch as well, it's very aggressive, dive orientated. Chinese Overwatch, very famous for being just absolutely crazy aggressive, like super aggro. So I'm very excited to see how they do kind of big up their roster this year, because they've got a lot of players, and I'm really hoping we see some Architect. The guy's a flex god, and Guangzhou, of course, too, like I mentioned before. There's no way they're not going to be paying him, especially in these double bubble comps. I'm excited. I bet you're excited too. Spark, maybe a little bit biased there, not gonna lie.
You touch up on Spark, and I'm looking over at the Fusion side of things. Carpe. We take a look at the way that Carpe, the 2020 Role Star player, has performed so far, nearing almost 10k damage. And, you take a look at the way that Carpe has been playing overall for the season, that's pretty impressive. I mean, it's only been one weekend going into the second weekend. The Fusion, you basically put a cherry on top to it, Jaws. They're looking to keep up some of that momentum going into the second weekend.
Yeah, speaking about 10k damage, 9th ranking, of course. I'm like pointing over to the side there. Of course, you can't see. That's my monitor over there that I'm pointing to. But he's, nearing that 10k damage, which will definitely boost his rankings up. But at 10k kills in the Overwatch League as well, he's sharply approaching, which he could get today, Vicky. His 10,000th kill in the on the Overwatch stage. Let's have a look at the lineups, though. We have the Philadelphia Fusion. As you can imagine, they're going to roll out with the same kind of thing. Of course, a few players, unfortunately, not with them currently, Astro being one of them. So we are seeing Toby and Hopper looking rather the same in this one, just silhouettes. But we have Alarm, Mano, of course, Rascal, and Carpe to round out the DPS. And they have been looking very good. Of course, like I said before, they are currently 2-0 in the standings currently, and beating the Seoul Dynasty as well, which is no easy feat, mind you.
Yeah. Now, taking a look at the Spark and having to see this team face off against the Fusion, what are you anticipating here? Looking at the Spark, looking at what we're going to have from the Fusion and their performance within last weekend, Jaws, what are you anticipating here to look at the way that Spark is going to play this into Fusion after being able to at least download some of that knowledge that they could have onto the Fusion when they performed?
Oh, I mean, double bubble all the way, where calls for it. Of course, a lot of the maps recently have been it is what you prefer in terms of composition, but it does rely on the maps kind of working in your favor as well. We are going over to Control Center being the first one of Lijiang Tower, so not as good for the Monkey and the Zarya, but we are seeing, of course, Architect coming out, and your boy, Somin Su as well, of course, ex-Vancouver Titans, and went on a little bit of a hiatus, it seems. I was surprised to not see him last year, but I'm glad he is back. Right-click McCree, and I'm a fan of Somin Su for multiple reasons, not just because he was on the Vancouver Titans, but because he has been integrated in this team with such just standout performers. Guangzhou and Bernard running the double shield TP out. Like I said, not too much monkey business here, as it is very small corridors with a lot of spammable areas, so it's just going to be Somin Su on the silly Symmetra hero, and Architect just spamming from the back, and the amount of damage that you can take, especially from Architect and Somin Su hitting these big right clicks, is pretty scary. But Rascal's going to be able to mitigate a lot of that with the walls, at least, as they do rotate very quickly around the Spark and do manage to at least jump on the point first and hopefully get the cap if they're lucky.
Oh, that wall right there isolating Guangzhou, and now finding IDK. That's 2 members down for the Spark, and now just being able to take full control over this point here first.
Oh,
that's
nice
a good statement to make, and yeah, just managing to close things out here. Toby getting that boof over to Architect, and now managing to hold on to that high ground.
Yeah, the Booth God is back as well, of course. Toby now on the Fusion. And I'm excited to see the Lucio matchups. In these kind of compositions, you aren't going to go for something absolutely crazy on the Lucio, of course, but Toby and IDK, some of the best Lucio players we have in the world. We have another one as well that's not actually arrived in Korea yet, and that is Funny Astro. So they got our Lucio players to bear. MCD is kind of nearing this window, but walls are going to get put up first before the engagements happen, as the Philadelphia Fusion do end up backing to the point, as now the Spark should be able to re-enter. They have changed over to the May, so they're going to be miles behind in terms of ult charge.
Yeah, although they are trying to prioritize that positioning. That wall coming in, the Shatter actually getting pulled out from Mono. He does get saved by the Immortality Field, but they immediately delete that, as well as deleting Mono. How about now? Utilizing that Gravitic Flux to stop their approach, and does find Gushue at the same time. That actually forces Spark to rotate over to the side right here, but they're still able to find some of those picks, while Mono is going to be able to get right back onto the point before Gushue meets up with the rest of the Spark.
Yeah, unreal Flux there, managing to take out the Rhine, and now Rascal's just sitting on the Blizzard. You can basically just wait for them to funnel in. This is last fight territory, basically. Architect's going to use that tire as it comes around through server room. It has to land onto one of these supports, but they still probably have Immortality Field. Hopper couldn't escape.
Hopper unfortunately becomes the victim of that Riptire. Copper now trying to find that mark. The pressure going onto Bernard. The sound barrier coming in from IDK. He's frozen in his tracks, but at the same time, Gushue still has that Shatter to at least suppress the Fusion back. The wall is going to be able to isolate Mono. He's going to go down. Gushue is not going to try to overextend. Instead, hold on to the Shatter, and as well as makes their way over to control this point for the first time of the round.
Oh yeah, not bad at all. Carpe, what are you doing? What are you doing there, buddy? Not looking for a flashbang, are you? Right in the back line? No, he is just kind of chilling in server room. He wants to cash MCD, ideally. That would be the perfect pick, of course, but either of the DPS as well will be as good. There's the right click, the right click is back. Oh, and it wasn't even So Min-Soo. MCD is dead. Even if Carpe dies here, it doesn't really matter because you lost your main heals, of course. Gushue is going super low.
Oh, no, 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 and now that's going to allow the rest of Fusion to make their way right back over here. The Spark, they're losing members, and they're losing them fast after losing MCD to Carpe. The Shatter now coming
Someone
alive.
needs to touch.
Someone needs to get on the point to at least contest it here. Overtime now ticking away. Currently have the Fusion making their way right back over to stop the Spark. Now they're stuck over to this Gravitic Flux, and the Animatrix coming alive, going to be able to control some of that space, but it doesn't even matter here, Jaws. The Spark, they're falling through, and the Fusion, they're moving right back in to live rent-free in Spark's heads.
Oh boy, that right flash fan the hammer, a classic. Carpe just managing to find the flank. I'm sitting there thinking, like, maybe he goes for this. It feels way too aggressive, right? I mean, they're gonna sniff this out. They know there's not a McCree shooting their shields. Surely? They clearly, obviously, well, maybe they were thinking about it, but just had no idea where he was. And as soon as you take down the Batiste, hey, guess what? No lamp. There's no main heals. They can't even use the window either. I mean, after that happens, the fight is good as done. So, like, we got a brief pause, unfortunately, as Bernard hit the pause. So we should get back into the game momentarily, but we are now heading into Night Market. Again, another TP-orientated map. You want to just rush out with the speed, hit the TP, and then jumping straight onto the point, putting up the walls. And normally whoever actually just lands on the point first normally does end up finding the cap and the kills because people are just kind of funneling on top of you. Easier to do damage, of course. Should be about a minute this pause, though, Vicky, so we should get back into the action in a sec.
Yeah, players just getting set up real quick while they do wait out on that pause. And looking at the way that the Fusion played that last round, it's interesting to see how they're going to approach this going forward. I mean, you mentioned the TP going in. Whoever gets set up on that point is going to have not only the advantage, but also a lot of that pressure going forward. Fusion already building up some of that momentum in that first round, but can they carry that over here with the Spark? They try to slowly make their way over to that point in that first round, but unfortunately, they were stopped short. Thanks to Carpe also taking care of those main heals coming forward from the Spark. I mean, that's what I got my eyes on currently going forward, Jaws. Looking at Carpe and the way that he's been performing, I know we touched up a little bit on that 10,000 damage that he's rearing around, but overall, the way that the Spark has been putting on a lot of that pressure to contest the Fusion, it's going to be interesting to see if they could at least try to shove Fusion off of that point, and we could see a little bit more of that close quarter fight that they want to bring in.
Yeah, we can get that 10,000 kills, like, in this series. mind you. We will keep you updated if that does end up ticking over, which is a monumental feat, by the way, getting a 10,000 kills in Overwatch League. Just ridiculous, but who better than Carpe at the end of the day? The dude's an absolute monster, and it does favor Fusion really well, too. If you look at kind of the supports and then the DPS, like Carpe just an absolute beast on the hit scan, but I love looking at the support player myself, and I'm sure a lot of people can attest to it. Toby, Boot God, perfect Lucio meta for him. And then Alarm, who can seemingly play everything. We saw him a little bit last year when Funny Astro had to jump into this Brigitte role. We saw Alarm then get kind of traded in, and they were kind of patching the holes that they had in their support line with Alarm more often than not. Chips, I remember seeing on Twitter saying he's the best player to ever exist. So, you know, there's that. You got the Chips a seal of approval. So what more can you really want? Alarm is just such a naturally talented support player that Philadelphia Fusion, they shouldn't have a problem in their backline whatsoever this season. I'm excited to see Funny Astro jump back in as well when all the visa and that kind of stuff and all those problems end up getting sorted out. But Fusion, they're in for a big season in the APAC region. Of course, moving over from North America, but they haven't faced Chengdu Hunters yet either, and I'm pretty excited for that too. The APAC region just looks stacked this year.
Yeah, it's honestly, I take a look at the APAC region, and that's what makes me really excited, especially with the performance that already the Hunters has set up as a precedence now, looking at the Fusion and the way that they performed last weekend. It's going to be quite chaotic overall. I know we were talking about the Hunters just starting up a bunch of violence for the last 2 years now and going over to the 2021 season here, Jaws, looking at the Fusion versus the Spark. That first round, it's in the books here for the Spark, and we're going to be able to start off of this pause very shortly. Now, you know, you touched up about the backlines of the Fusion. I'm taking a look at these tanks between Mono and Hotba. Now, being able to integrate a lot of that synergy that they're building in, they're enabling a lot of Carpe and Rascal to actually get away with a lot of that pressure that we had seen within that first round from Carpe, tacking on a lot of that pressure onto the backlines of the Spark.
Yeah, and this, speaking about backlines from the Spark there, Carpe doing those things too, the flash fan, the hammer to kill MCD. This is a rookie support as well, MCD, coming from Element Mystic, one of the teams in Korean contenders. He had a few different stints on a few teams before them, but Element Mystic, perfect feeder team from the Korean region. We've seen tons of players move their way in, and the Dallas Fuel looking a lot like Element Mystic currently, but you can see how much talent comes from that team in the region as a whole, of course, as well. And maybe that is a little bit of it doesn't look like we are going back into this game rather shortly, guys. IDK is ready. Looks like Mano is ready as well, so we should be jumping in just a second. Do not go anywhere. But like I was saying, maybe that's just a little bit of inexperience there from the backline from the Spark, like not being able to kind of track where Carpe is. Of course, incredibly hard to when he's kind of sneaking around the map, but still, point still stands. You are going up against a veteran, just superstar-studded backline in Alarm and Toby, and this is a rough entrance for MCD.
Round two.
Yeah, and with that pause, we're finally getting started, going forward in the second round, and ready with that teleport. You can just see, wasting no time. I love that wall, though, coming in from Architect, and as well as being able to control a lot of this space here, actually tacking on so much of that pressure onto the Fusion. They are going to be able to give that respect, and I love the way that Fusion actually quickly disengaged right there. They recognize the situation, especially after Hoppa now has been demeched now forward.
Well,
though they do take care of Hoppa. Yeah, immediately as I was pointing that out there, they do manage to take care of Hoppa. Great walls coming forward, though, between Architect and Rascal. It's an ice cream sandwich here for Gouchwei, but he does manage to get out of there alive. He does manage to retaliate, and I like the way currently that Fusion is playing this really patiently. They are going to give that over to the Spark first, while they are going to be able to build into some of those ultimates as well.
It's super hard now to actually attack this point. I mean, you're attacking into sim turrets, right? I mentioned at the very start of the map, whoever actually lands on the point first, more often than not, is going to win. You saw at the very start, boom, Spark instantly came down. They're trying to TP flank shatter. In fact, Mono just landed, but he's in trouble.
He has the immortality field, but he took on so much of that damage pressure coming forward from Seoul Su. You're talking about the fact that whoever gets onto this point is going to be able to try to take it. Well, I mean, Jaws, this is a clear example of that, and the amount of pressure and damage output that we just saw coming in from the Spark, which will be able to come right back in with the rest of the Spark, while Fusion, they have to retaliate and get back together in the spawn while they go back to the drawing board to figure out what to do differently.
Yeah, now they can come back in. Somehow, again, Toby the Boot God managed to find Gushue, but now the window's going to open up. The TP forward, potentially getting the turn to the back line, but the wall is going to prove such a difficult obstacle to go behind.
And not only the wave wall, but also that photon barrier coming alive. The Shatter is online for Gushue, just waiting for that opportunity for the rest of Fusion to go in. But the fact that they've lost Toby here just leaves alarm for that sustainability. The Blizzard coming in is going to stop Gushue, but the sound barrier is going to help them stay alive. IDK is taking a lot of that damage, and the Spark Jaws, they're losing members, and they're losing them fast. The Fusion, now they're making their way right back over to the point. They clean things up here, and they do so successfully. Now it's a matter of taking care of that TP and waiting out for the rest of Spark, and they used a lot of their economy overall, besides Bernard building into that drum, but now you currently have them making their way back over from the spawn.
That was an unbelievable play there from Rascal. The entirety of his team were backing off because they were low HP, and that was the go signal, the bat signal, if you will, if you're the Spark, and to just run into them, just clean them up. But Rascal hid in the corner, was able to get the Blizzard out, forcing the beat, and then instantly the Fusion were able to capitalize. They're going to come back in with a shooty shotgun man in the Reaper, as they are going to be running into a Gravitic Flux from Hopper. There it does, it's coming out. It is straight on top of the entirety of the Spark lineup almost.
It's a fun Friday out here. You can say that again, and being able to find Bernard off to the side, they are trading nonetheless. Hava taking so much of that damage, but the follow-up coming alive from Rascal. He pinpointed how his positioning has been on point, especially with that Blizzard to help out the rest of Fusion to take in that point finally. And now, despite them actually losing that point first here, the control point and momentum is starting to build into Philadelphia Fusion's favor.
83% to 56. Rascal has Blizzard. I'm looking at Architect. He's 75% of the way there. Gushue's got a Shatter coming online too. It's going to be, again, very, very hard to kind of attack this point against the Sim and the May, the silly DPS. Rascal playing quite far upwards, but it shouldn't matter all too much. This is going to be fun to fight territory because this Blizzard is going to slow down this whole fight, and it's really up to IDK too to build this beat quicker. And it looks like, in fact, Spark are just trying to take enough damage to actually help build that beat quick enough. MCD's ult charge not building, but not actually eats the Blizzard.
Oh, take that for a lunch right now, and the Shatter coming in. Gushue, he gets stuck here, and now being able to clean up the point, it's gonna be a wipe out here for the Fusion, with Spark now making their way over to this point, turn it in their favor. Now it's up to the Fusion to try to claim this and at least try to contest at the same time.
That was unbelievable. Wow. The one thing that the Fusion needed was the Blizzard, and Bernard just eats it up. And now they have a free beat, Vicky. Someone's going to have to touch, and no one does. Okay, was kind of expecting the Lucio to touch there, so I wasn't going to hand it over too quick, you know. Toby is he's killed at the back. So yeah, he was just seconds too late there, unfortunately. The Spark do manage to tie up this control. We're going all the way over to Night Gardens now. And that, yeah, super unfortunate for the Fusion. I mean, Rascal just wasn't really expecting Bernard to hold on to the eats. Now we have the POV, the map winning moment. Oh, right in the corner. He spotted it coming a mile away.
So interesting to see, too, how he was actually able to react so well. Knew that he was hanging out in that corner. And
he has quite a big cast time, May, as well, mind you. The snowball has to like physically be thrown out, drop on the floor, and then come up to activate the Blizzard. The cast time in general is fairly slow. That's why you'll see a lot of Mays throw it into the ground to accelerate cast time, or even throw it on top of their May, like in between the May wall blocks as well, to try and get that cast time as quick as possible.
Yeah, you have that sound cue too to just let everybody else know what's going on, where you're coming from, and already with this position advantage coming forward from the Fusion, they are going to be able to make their way over to the point first, and the Spark taking a rather slower approach here, going over to the side into that white room so that way they could tack on some pressure and waiting it out. So you see Architect on the Pharah now, getting some of that pocket heals from IDK, as well as the fact that he could tack on a lot of that pressure, utilizing these windows now so that way they do see him as a threat. Rascal, of course, is on that base, so he can't really do much unless he's in that close quarter situation on the point.
Yeah, Gushue is going to get frozen up on the sides. Easy speed down for Toby. And this is kind of the same thing we saw in the Hunters versus NYXL game, right? One team is playing this rush style, one team is playing this Pharah style, and just trying to poke people out and build up this EMP. But are you as good as the Hunters at doing that? We'll have to wait and find out. Spark don't currently control the point. They haven't made a dent in it. And Philadelphia Fusion, they're already up to 40%. Alarm's got the window. They can just back off with ease and just bait in a nice triple anti, though. But will it result in anything? Maybe it will. Alarm gets done.
Oh, yeah. Taking notes right here from the Hunters. You made note of it, and Architect does find Alarm after getting antied right there over to the side. That's Toby going down, too, as both supports out of the fight for Fusion. These turrets, though, being a threat, they are going to be able to clean it up with the rest of the Spark making their way over to the point. It's a matter of cleaning up Romano, though. He is trying to delay the inevitable with the rest of Fusion trying to contest. Now, Spark, they're cleaning things up, and they are able to try to take this point. The Photon Barrier, they're not wasting any time here, Jaws. The EMP now coming alive and finding two. Rascal now is out of that fight. He actually had Blizzard as well that he could have been able to at least hold on to the point, but 80% now, Jaws with the Spark finally turning the tides in their favor.
Oh, I mean, that is super nice if you're the Fusion. You do get to hold on to Blizzard. Yeah, maybe he could have used it, but the Photon Barrier being used to stop at least the Spark insta-killing the rest of the team, because Architect has to play so much more careful, doesn't want to injure himself with the rockets, of course, and Carpe was going to be able to switch, well, was going to switch anyway from the Symmetra, so 80% not bad. Blizzard's going to be fairly tough to use. He wants to either get the tanks or MCD ideally, but he's going to be playing off in a different time zone at this point. There's no way he's going to be near that Blizzard. However, the gauge does come in.
And that's hacked too onto Carpe. He actually gets away despite getting hacked over to the side. And that Mayhem coming alive. The Rocket Barrage coming in and finding two. Despite that Blizzard falling down and actually finding some of the members from Spark over to the side. He controls some space. Mono gets put to sleep. He has that Shatter, but losing both of that DPS. Rascal's quickly swapping over to the Tracer so that way they can at least get back into the fight rather quickly. Now the Shatter to follow in. The Coalescence to match up with that, but Alarm's put to sleep. That Coalescence gets shut down and so does Toby. And the Spark now, they're losing members and they're losing them fast with the rest of Fusion. Now being able to try to take this point without the Spark being able to find themselves back into the advantage seat.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to get in the back now. That EMP was absolutely massive, but it didn't really result in all much. Like, they were surviving by the skin of their teeth, and Alarm was able to heal them up. And healing them up from basically 1 HP, which looked like Mano and Hotbar are on, he gained himself a Coalescence, and that just turned the tides of the war. 92% now. Gushue should be able to touch. He's going to be the one to get there first. Sominsu's with the EMP. He's ready to strike.
Getting ready, he's getting set up into position. They don't see him. He's right behind both the tanks right now.
He's big.
He does utilize the EMP. They find Mono from it, and the anti to follow up right afterwards. Alarm is surprisingly alive. The Deadeye does find Architect at the same time, so they do trade here. At the same time, Mono had Shatter, and they do find him at the side right here. Toby's gone from this fight, and the res onto Architect now sets up Spark on the advantage in terms of numbers. They do reclaim this point, but for how long here, Jaws? The Pulse doesn't find a sticky. He's trying to find his way over to pressuring on IDK. But yeah, IDK still managed to get away on time. The Rocket Barrage coming alive. Architect getting in that pocket from IDK, knowing that Rascal wanted to make sure that, you know, you can make sure that IDK isn't as much of a threat onto managing to help out Architect. It's unfortunately to no avail right now, Jaws, and they're at nearly 99% to match that with the Fusion.
Yeah, they need to get back in ASAP once again. It's going to be Rascal Toby with the touch. Manu switching over Ball to try and do so as well. Coalescence is going to be online also, but they're not going to be able to do it. What? How did they not touch?
What?
Excuse me. Excuse me. Give me a 0.25 on that, please. That looked like the Diva was on it. There is a small lip, I believe, actually on that point where even if you're on top of the window, you don't actually get the point touch. You have to be like almost physically on the ground. Oh, that was disastrous. Oh boy. Oh man, that was crazy for the Spark to take that one. It felt so good for the Fusion, especially their comp. They were able to just kind of stop Architect doing a lot without Architect receiving that nano, of course. Not as good as Jinmu, it feels like, but the Spark executing that comp fairly well. Sominsu finding a lot of value with the EMP. It was down to the supports of Philadelphia Fusion trying to keep everybody up and alive and well, but there's only so much you can do on the Moira, especially in those last few moments, right? You got a fair bit of burst healing if you throw out the orb as well, but man, getting hacked or just using the fade, you're going to die pretty quickly. Toby even taking out MCD. It was just chaos. These comms are chaos comms, especially when you're playing Brawl into this Pharah with the Sombra. There's not really... It feels like very hard to spectate to. Which person do you want to kind of look at? There's small battles happening all across the map. Tough job for the May too with the Blizzard targeting. You want to throw it on point and then the ball rolls into it. I don't know. It was chaos at the very end. It looked like Philly were going to touch, but they didn't. Oh, that is so sad, man. They're probably kicking themselves right now.
I know, and that's that mentality that they're going to be carrying over to the next map. Overall, though, they put up a really good fight. 99-99, so close here, Jaws. Although the Spark, they take it for right under the Fusion. At the end of this short break, though, don't go anywhere because we're going to be going on to a map number 2.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Hisu and Sominsu, yeah. Soup and shoe.
Soup and shoe?
No.
Easy win for Carpe. Oh my gosh! He dropped him down! Marco! GQO making mincemeat of the opposition. This was what we were promised when this guy was joining the league. Perfect stuff from Funny Astro. Mano, that is filthy.
Plants the sticky bombs. Great stuff from Shockwave.
As Rascal makes his mark.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are a little bit through the series of Philadelphia Fusion up against the Hangzhou Spark. The debut for the Spark as well today. The Fusion, probably kicking themselves just a little bit there. Vicky, it looked like at the very end on Gardens they touched. It looked like pure chaos, and it was, because Sombra Farah against the good old Rush. It can get pretty dicey, especially when you're trying to cap the point against the Farah and the EMPs and just everything getting lobbed at you at once. Spark, though, good showing thus far, and it's nice to see a lot of flexibility too. I picked up Architect at the very start. He's a player that I've always looked out for and just a massive hero pool, so this kind of meta suits him really well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what more Architect could do, especially building into a lot of that chaos that we saw at the end of that first map. Now going on to our second map, though. I know the Spark, they managed to take it from right under Fusion's nose. I know, again, we were making a note of it, how they're probably kicking themselves, but overall, hopefully it doesn't let that affect their mentality going into the second map, because it was so close. Now looking at some of the adjustments that they have to make.
Yes. Just like we've got a small substitution. Yeah, Takayaki is going to come in. Gushwei is taking a little backseat for the time being. This roster, by the way, is absolutely massive. And it's actually something we talked about back on Plat Chat like a while ago when we did the team previews. I did the Spark one. And the calling structure within the team, because there's a lot of Chinese players and there's a lot of Korean players. They kind of, I think it's a 50-50 split. I'll have to go check after this. But we were kind of wondering what they were going to do if they were going to run the all-Korean squad for some of it, or all the Chinese squad for some of it, and it's nice to see that there's a complete integration. Gushue, of course, been playing on a lot of the Korean teams, or like Korean-dominant teams for a long time, so it's not too much of a surprise to see him coming in and out, but I'm loving MCD Takayaki coming in, another Element Mystic alumni, a lot of talent on the lad, and it does probably mean we are going to be running some sort of Rhine comp. I think Gushue is a pretty good Rhine too, but his monkey is just absolutely perfect, as well as his Wrecking Ball, so expecting a little bit more rush now as Takayaki steps in.
Yeah, I mean, going into our second map being a Watchpoint Gibraltar, I'm excited to see how that's going to play in to a lot of the strength of the players that are subbing right back onto that roster. Now, looking over at the Fusion and Spark, some of those changes could really allow Spark to actually further in to their advantage, close out that second map in their favor, and hold on to that advantage because, you know, the moment that you find yourself up 2-0, that's a lot of pressure automatically put onto your opponent. And looking at the Fusion, especially after that last map had ended on that last round, I know for a fact that they definitely want to try to clutch out that second game going forward against the Spark.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one thing to note too, Toby was having an absolute game of his life, getting so many boops again. I'm like, how do you get these many environmental kills, man? I mean, I probably shouldn't question it at this point in time, you know, but he has been just absolutely stomping and just being able to take care of the main support as well. You saw him kind of dueling out with the MCD when they were on Gardens. That's the perfect job for the Lucio. You can duck, dip, dive, and dodge. You're so quick when you're activating that speed, and you're able to just stop MCD really healing his team. Of course, Carpe came in at the very end and kind of finished him off with a flashbang. But just distraction is normally good enough as a kill in those situations, especially when it's the main healer there, the support that's dealing out the most healing at least. With Gibraltar, interesting that it's subbing Takayaki in. I thought maybe they'd have Gushue in now because of the dive-orientated map that is Watchpoint Gibraltar, but I guess we'll have to wait and see, of course. I'm curious if they just have Takayaki in for some maps. Of course, we did see teams like the Shock subbing in Violet for Gibraltar on DPS, so at this point, I have no idea. It's really just going to be a bag of surprises that we're going to have to slowly open as we do get into these later maps, seeing the Spark in 2021.
Yeah, especially since this is just the second weekend of the May Melee Qualifiers. And, you know, looking at the first weekend, you know, every single hero in the game was played last week. So
yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and even though you saw just for a sneeze of time, Bastion and Roadhog, it's the fact that they were picked at all that you have to pay attention to because, you know, multiple times against a lot of these different compositions and how their clashing styles match up against these other teams while they still figure out their footing and what they're, like, mostly excelled in. I feel like it quite literally depends on the map and a lot of these players that they're going to be able to sub into their favor, like I mentioned earlier. And, you know, depending on how things go here on Watchpoint Gibraltar and a lot of the players that they integrate, they may carry on some of those players going on to the third map, depending on if the Spark maintain a lot of that advantage and that pressure state on the backlines of the Fusion, or if the Fusion is going to be able to adapt around a lot of what Spark has been tacking onto them, especially at the start of those rounds where they've been able to actually take that point first.
Yeah, we are just ready and waiting to get into the lobby. Looks like one of the teams just needs to quickly sort something out, and then we should be good to go. Architect saying IDK is doing a little bit of trolling. Little pinch hand, little troll face pinching hand. Yeah, maybe a little bit of that. But yeah, maybe they do keep Takayaki in, but I think subbing him in and out as kind of this rookie main tank would be very beneficial for him, getting a little bit more playtime, of course. But again, we don't know. I'm interested to see how they do end up playing this map. Gibraltar, though, let's talk about this one real quick, shall we? This is a sniper's paradise, or at least long-range hit scan. So it's going to be up to Carpe facing off against Godsby. That's a matchup for the ages. Again, we are so close to Carpe hitting that 10k kill mark, man. I am looking forward to the day we see that, because that is a milestone. Does he get a pin or something for 10k kills? That's what I want to know.
He should. He definitely should.
A little pin or a badge, like a sew-on badge, like you're in the Cub Scouts.
He could wear it. Yeah, wear it, or like a hat, so that way he could wear it, you know,
a hat.
A hat, I don't know. Listen, 10K, it literally says this 10K on it with like a little
just
badge.
Says 10K. What kind of hat would it be? A beanie? Or a 10-gallon hat?
Ah.
A 10-gallon hat is actually perfect.
I
for
like
10K.
that idea. I like that idea. The 10-gallon
Right,
hat.
we're getting Carpe. When I say we are getting them, the Overwatch League maybe not be getting them a 10-gallon hat, but Carpe, give me your address, buddy. I'll send you a 10-gallon hat, and I will etch 10K on it in a Sharpie. And there you go. That'll be your reward for getting 10K kills. Right, we are going into game though. Let's go. That's enough of this jibber jabber. Let's get into it.
Jibba Jabba Gibraltar now going forward. We're getting set up to talk about being a sniper's paradise. I mean, having a lot of that extra attack damage and utilizing the high ground to your advantage here as the Spark do get set up on the defense. It's going to be interesting to see how this is going to compare to Carpe on the Widowmaker, probably trying to get a quick pick here too, as Godsby is going to be on that Ashe to make sure that you have the Fusion actually having a difficult time on reaching around the car wash and being able to get that payload moving.
Oh yes, indeed. It does be. I think I've lost sound by accident on one of the things, so give me half a second. It does look like they're actually running Takoyaki on the Winston, and they are going Godspeed on the Ashe. No pockets, but IDK is going to do just that, throw a few armor packs his way. Normally you just want to armor pack the DPS, not crazy high value to armor pack the tanks. That's more MCD's job. Just like double bubble as well for the Fusion. Carpe on the Widowmaker going up against Godspeed. This is what you want. This is the matchup you want to look out for, man. Especially on the offense too. You can get some really nasty angles if you're Carpe.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this plays out right now. You can already see where that Fusion's trying to shove Spark out of that high ground. They do successfully manage to keep them out and actually build into some of that aggression. I like the spacing and the immediate retaliation that they're going right back in, though. Alarm taking a lot of that damage. Takoyaki actually finds himself getting anti, but no follow-up coming forward to that. Actually gets out of that difficult situation, and they're still moving the payload through that difficult car wash that I made mention of earlier on, and the high ground is still being controlled over by the Fusion.
Yes, indeed. I mean, being pushed this far up as well is super nice for Carpe. There's a lot of defensive tools that can be used too, because he has a Brigitte literally basically almost on top of him. I mean, he's not going to die. That is for sure. And getting under the car wash, like you said, is the hardest thing. That is what you need to do if you're the offense. Just get under car wash and you should be good. But they're all carrying in server room right now. Godspeed, luckily enough though, does manage to find the kill onto Rascal.
Architect taking a lot of the damage, but does manage to get right back in. MCD now with the Anubis putting on Takoyaki. He's building into that primal. Does shove the Fusion off of that high ground. They are going to give some of that respect as they drop down, and they are going in for a different rotation to that point.
Yes, they are. Nano onto Mano though, as they do try and stem the bleeding just a little bit, but Alarm falling to a pulse bomb. That's not a good start.
Oh, that and Toby actually getting anti. He doesn't get taken out yet, but it's just up to Toby for that healing output for the rest of Fusion. May not be enough sustainability here, though, as Takoyaki is going absolutely primal rage mode, and Bernard does fall through. Rascal finds that pulse bomb onto Bernard, and MCD goes in right after him. That just leaves IDK for that sustainability, but the Spark, they're winning in numbers, and they're also able to take this point over to defend successfully. I mean, when you take a look at the way that Fusion just played that, they wanted to essentially try to speedrun to that point, but can they stop Alarm right here? Carpe got that headshot off of Architect, and he also was given some assistance to Alarm. They're making their way right back over to the Spark to tack on some of the extra pressure, but you have to keep your eye over to Carpe here, Jaws, because this is going to be the threat.
Oh, he almost actually takes the head clean off IDK. Look how scared they're playing. They're playing right at the back as well, because they have to check Rascal too, who's in their backline currently. IDK is still 1 HP, by the way. Someone needs to heal him. Finally gets healed up. I think he actually took a health pack. 3 meters to go, though, and the rally's coming out from Toby.
And the grab as well coming forward, though. 2 members down. IDK does get hit with the anti. The rally now to keep the rest of Spark alive after MCD falls down through. But currently Fusion, they're getting some of that momentum built in their favor. Taku is taking a quick nap. IDK gets stunned and also gets taken out of that fight. Hoppa is going to be able to tack on so much of that damage, getting that energy, and as well as the fact that they get that first point. It is a quick nap here, and they're going to be able to clean up MCD and delay some of those spawns at the same time. And oh, what a terrible situation to be in if you're at the Spark, but they have to go in for a reset.
That was ridiculous. I mean, IDK just needed to be healed way quicker there if you're the Spark. He was out of action for, I don't know how long. I'd have to actually get out a little stopwatch, you know? Like, he was on 2 HP for the longest time after Carpe just shot him in the head briefly. Lucky it wasn't a kill. Well, it might have been better if it was a kill shot, to be honest with you, because he would have respawned. But there we go. Spaceship control is being taken already by the Fusion. They are playing Gibraltar perfectly. This is what you need to do. As soon as you take ship control, the curse that is Point 2 Gibraltar just fades away.
Especially with Carpe hanging on to that position. I mean, he's going to be a menace to deal with and getting sent back. Mano, he wants to clear up the point. He wants to make sure to send them off of that map, but the Pulse won't find an MCD now. Takeke has that primal to reset, with so many members falling down from the Spark, get stunned right out of their boots, and the rest of Fusion, they're cleaning around, and they're immediately trying to get this second point so quickly. Architect does manage to contest right on time. He takes a lot of that damage, but he's still managing to hold on to the contention. The grab now to get in that follow-up, and Hoppa being able to be there right on time. Toby gets antied, and he gets taken to sleep, but Curly's Spark, unfortunately now, they can't hold them back, and the rest of Fusion, they do manage to get that point.
Yes, we do. Apologies, I didn't hear any of that because I think something crashed, but I think we're good. I think we're good. Little tech wizard, I'm just trying to fix it, and we, yeah, Godspeed takes down Carpe. Woohoo! There you go. 3 minutes on to this last point. I've recovered. It's fine. Will the Spark, though? Not entirely sure. They kind of need to do something at this point. Godspeed's going to be able to send out the Bob, of course, but now you're looking at just Alarm just sending in Manu yet again to pressure out Godspeed, and they've been giving Carpe so much free space. Already they're setting up on the high ground. Spark playing scared once again. They know where everybody's coming from now as well. Carpe is not in the usual spot either. You kind of expect him to be near Toby, but taking this nice little off angle, unfortunately now cut off by the Bob, is going to be working wonders for the Fusion. Now he's actually on a little flank as well. Do they actually know he's here? I don't think they do.
Well, they got to keep his eye on him. He's going to be able to get a lot of that pressure going in, and he don't see him. He finds MCD. MCD does manage to pull off that Anubis on time, but at the same time that you have the Fusion building into that moment of the grab now to stop him short, finding a lot of these picks coming forward and saving the day from what could have been a really lethal situation for Carpe. Takoyaki slapping him around, making sure that he gets right back to the team where he belongs. And currently the Spark, now they are going to be able to go in for a reset because they're losing members and they're losing them fast. Taking a quick nap though, they do manage to clean up around Mono before going in for that reset.
Yeah, the spawn advantage there is the worst enemy for the Philly Fusion. You saw the kill feed was white, pink, white, pink, white, pink. It was like mainly Carpe doing a lot of that damage. Like, he killed MCD instantly, the fight begun. And then Architect got killed as well, so he couldn't end up following up. It was the saving grab from Bernard that helped make sure they spawned in time to make an impact on that fight. Rascal with the pulse bomb as well. They haven't really made use of this space if they have Spark. Carpe is still sitting at this really disgusting angle, waiting for Takoyaki or Architect to peep their little heads out. Both recalls have been forced too. Does Carpe go on a flank again? I'm not entirely sure, but Toby's going to be able to start the fight good and proper here with his rally, which is available soon. Takoyaki with a rally in tow as well if IDK wants to pop that and move them all the way up, but no payload progress has been made. Carpe eventually checked, but still 2 HP is scurrying all the way back to their old spawn. Pulse bomb on top, Bernard goes down, and that'll be the fight over, I think. They got to push all the way into their spawn now.
Carpe finally went down after Takoyaki chased him to the great beyond, all the way to Narnia out here. Hoppa now does have that nano boost as well as nearly 100 energy charge. Overall, though, is still dealing so much of that damage. Clearing point. Goodbye, Takoyaki. And the Spark have to desperately get on this point. Need to contest. Less than 45 seconds left on board, and no one's there to touch. They do manage to take the payload all the way home.
Yeah, I may have caught that fight a little bit earlier there, right? Where I was like, well, the fight's basically over now as Takoyaki is in the back line trying to kill Carpe, and he does eventually, but it's the stalling Widowmaker, again, sometimes the deadliest. Widowmaker just existing. You know, he can't leave Widow because she's instantly going to get healed. He has to go for the kill and then retreat to the rest of his team, but all the meanwhile,